everybody. Welcome along to this edition of SportsView on Monday, the 26th of June, 2023. Welcome, Derwynne Honan.
Hey, Pat. Hey, Joe.
And welcome, Joe.
Hi, Pat. Hi, Derwynne. Good to see you again.
And we won't say anything about Joe. Joe's doing very well, you know. I think tomorrow is the date, Joe, isn't it?
Yeah, tomorrow's the day, yeah. I haven't quite made it to 25 years yet.
He's getting a long service medal for his contribution to mankind, to harmony in mankind. We leave it. Anyway, you can press the red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel. It's very much appreciated. And the usual phone number and email is on there if you want to bring the comments. We're going to look at soccer. This time of the year, there are the movements of soccer and people like that, you know. But I don't know about you lads, but we just heard the news today that Craig Brown, the longest-serving manager of the Scottish football team, passed away at the age of 82. And he managed Scotland it's easy for me because I've written down here, from 1993 to 2001. And he qualified them for the Euro 96 and also for the 1998 World Cup. That was the one that was in France, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1998. But he had a fantastic record with Motherwell and Aberdeen and all of that. Did you know much about him, Joe, yourself?
I met him. I met him once. I was lucky enough to meet him once. I was on a court. He came over to Washington State, and he was hosting a coaching course, and I met him there, and I did some field work with him. Really nice guy, top soccer guy. You and I talked a little bit about it last week when even before we knew anything was wrong.
Yeah.
But he was I just read the story this morning. He and Alex Ferguson were great pals from the time they were schoolboy internationals back in 1957.
Yeah.
So that's how long they went back with each other. And after Jock Stein had died when Scotland qualified in Wales, remember when he had a heart attack during the game, and Ferguson was given the job for the World Cup, and the first person he called was Craig Brown, and he calls him up and he says, "Brown, do you want to go on the holiday of a lifetime?" And they were going to the World Cup. So Brown packed his bags and off he went. But he was a great character, told great stories, and he was a very good manager. I mean, we're talking now, the current affairs in Ireland with Stephen Kenny and what have you. I mean, Craig Brown got them to 2 tournaments in a row. And then when they didn't qualify for the next one, he's under pressure and he eventually gets let go from the job. Yeah. And it takes them something like, I don't know how many years before they got back to a tournament with Steve Clark, this last one. Yeah. I mean, so, it just shows you how fickle the sport is. We're talking about Stephen Kenny, and they're talking about was it Carlisle getting the job or Carsley getting the job? And I mean, he's managed 40 league games or 40 games, something like that. And they're talking about putting him in charge of a national team. That's ridiculous.
It is. And Craig Brown himself, he had 71 games Scotland played under his managership. He had 32 wins and 18 draws and 20 losses, which was, I think it's a fantastic record, shouldn't be underestimated,
Well, I mean, it's a great record. It's better than 50%.
It is, and he got a CBE in 1999. That's Craig Brown, But you didn't know, but did you ever come across him yourself, Derwynne, or anything like that, no? Or Scotland, of course, when Scotland...
No.
Yeah.
No, my only experiences with the Tartan Army is when they were wrecking Wembley.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed what they call the home internationals. I thought they were a mighty crack altogether, I missed that competition. They were great.
I mean, as a kid growing up in Wembley, home internationals was like, my dad first took me to Wembley when I was 4 years old, watch England play.
Yeah.
And I remember watching those home internationals were just, you know, they were brilliant.
They were better than the World Cup.
Oh, they were. I mean, they were. They were hugely popular. I mean, yeah, England, Scotland at Wembley at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon. There's nobody doing anything else other than watching it. And then Scotland, England at Hampden Park, place packed. You know, and again, nobody doing anything.
You're right, John.
You know,
an opportunity. Go on.
The Scotland fans, Joe, used to come down on the Monday before the Saturday game, and they would be sleeping rough outside our house up against our wall, literally with no blankets, nothing. And literally my mum and my nan would be going out giving them cups of tea and pieces of toast. And like I'd come home from school and Wembley's just, I could have been in Glasgow for all I knew.
Yeah.
And there'd be 12 blokes sitting on the floor against our garden wall.
Yeah.
And they were hammered. I mean, hammered.
Yeah.
They'd been out doing whatever they did during the day. And I mean, they got up to all kinds of mischief, which, you know, wasn't good mischief. They weren't fighting. They were just, dare I say, they were acquiring drinks from a dodgy source, shall we say?
with brown paper bags wrapped around the bottle, is it?
Oh, honestly, they used to go. I mean, it was, but they'd still be there like Monday.
Yeah, goodness
like
me.
The game was finished on Saturday, and there's still, we go to school on Monday, and there's still Scottish fans sleeping rough in Wembley in the high road, and you'd be like, when do they go home? Do they go home?
Of course, the other aspect of the home internationals was players like George Best. It was an international forum, of course, playing with Northern Ireland, you know, because they wouldn't have qualified for many competitions. And to see George Best playing for Northern Ireland as well in those as well, I suppose that was a positive as well from a soccer point of view, you know, to test.
They used to play it like one at home and one away, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, home and away. Of course, we were talking last week, Derwynne, about Gordon McQueen. You know, he passed away, as you know.
Yeah.
You know, an absolute brilliant player. Would have played in those. I'm sure he would have. Yeah, he would have. Yeah,
he would have played in those games. Yeah,
he was an incredible man. But that was the late Craig Brown we were reminiscing over. Now, there's been Ireland won, the Republic of Ireland won against Gibraltar during the week in their last match before the break, and they laboured enough. It was 0-0 at half time. I think we were on here, Joe, during the match, but they came through in the end and got the I know about the press. We often give up about the press in England, but the press here, really, I thought they were way over the top and too harsh altogether, because the Irish team, you know, not one of the players, and nothing against those players that gave honest endeavour, but we don't have players in the Premiership or in the First Division like we used to have from Ireland. You know, we used to have nearly all our team when Jack Charlton was in charge of Ireland, those people, Morris Setters, all the players were household names on the Irish team. Now, the Irish people don't even know who they are, and that's no reflection on the players. They're still honest professionals, but we have to be realistic about the team and say, look, we're down for a while, lads. And changing the manager, I think. They were talking about, okay, changing the manager will make no difference to the team, you know? None whatever. I know, Joe, did you see any of the match?
I didn't see any of the match.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked a little bit about it.
We did.
You know, I haven't seen them really play for a good while. I just, you know, I'm a soccer fan that likes action. You know, I do not like to watch a labored build up, you know, a slow, steady 14, 15 passes, unless it's zipping about and what have you, and it's moving quickly. But, and like I said, I've watched Stephen Kenny's Dundalk team play, and I mean, they were technically very nice. They played around the back and what have you, but playing that in the League of Ireland and then playing it at international level with players that are really not of the caliber that you're going to be successful with it. And it by it being a slow build up, it allows other teams to organize, poorer teams to organize. And that's what they're hoping for. They put 8 people behind the ball and they frustrate you and hope to score on a breakaway. But you've hit the nail on the head. A manager is only as good as the players that he has.
And we'll see now in the next 2 games. They're away to France and they're home to the Netherlands in their group after the summer break. So Gundogan is gone to Barcelona, lads, from Man City. You probably saw that. And there's a big movement to, Joe, your man has gone to join Messi in Miami in David Beckham's team, Busquets.
Correct, yeah.
He's gone to join Messi, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I see that they're after the coach that he had at Barcelona, Tata. He had him there for a while, and Miami are supposedly looking at getting him to be their next head coach. So that's going to be real interesting.
They seem to have a lot of money.
They do have a lot of money, and they're realizing that whatever they were trying to do before has not worked, and they've now made a decision that they're going to go for some big names and big players. But they're already, I think I read, 15 points out of the playoff picture. So they got a lot of work to do if they're going to be successful this year.
They have. I was looking at the table during since we met last, but Modric is staying at Real Madrid. That's no surprise, really. I think he's
and Toni Kroos. He just signed a new 1-year contract as well.
That's right, yeah. And Bournemouth have signed a very famous name, Kluivert, from Roma. Yeah. We all know his dad, Patrick.
Right.
Was one of the good ones, I must say, It's I don't know if it's a good signing, but I suppose, I think it's a team. I think it's a good move. I'm not an expert in this. Kluivert will fit in Bournemouth in the sense that I don't know how good he is. I've seen Roma playing a few times, but not enough to make a judgment or formulate an opinion on it at all, And our hero of the Premiership last year, what's his name? He's Roy Hodgson. He's staying with Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that's a great story. And what do you think, Derwynne? I think he's a
really good football man, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he knows his stuff, doesn't he? He speaks like 4 languages, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's no slouch, as they say.
He's clever as well as he's got massive experience. And let's face it, I mean, Crystal Palace they're not awash with money, are they?
No. But I think they're I don't know what description he'd put on it, but I think they're a solid team. They're a solid team.
Well, they've always got the Udu on United when they play at Selhurst Park, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
I mean, there's some teams. Liverpool don't like going there either, do they?
No, they do not.
Well, that wasn't that the start of the slide that cost Liverpool the league championship that year. That 3-3 draw that they had there.
That's
Palace
true.
is a strange place to go and play football because it's not a big ground. You've probably played there, Joe, but it's not. It's not a big ground by any stretch.
It's a weird kind of a ground. It really is. I was lucky enough to play there a few times, and it's just it's kind of got an open end to it that is. It's just really, it's hard to describe it. It really is.
Yeah. I was never in Selhurst Park. Yeah, is it anything like Loftus Road?
No, well, in some ways, but Loftus Road's 4-sided, and you feel like when they take a throw in, you could nick the ball off him, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
You could nick it out of his arms, but really, when they take a throw in, but Loftus Road. But
welcome.
It's like Joe said.
Yeah. Go on, yeah.
Like there's one end of Selhurst Park that's like it's just like an open area, isn't it? It's like there's nothing there.
and that was kind of the weird part of it, that it was open like that. and because most grounds you went to were kind of covered on all sides, somewhat covered on all sides, and that was kind of like you're looking up and all you see is like the daylight all the way down.
Yeah,
it was kind of.
I think it's something to do with the local council because where it backs up to literally onto Selhurst Park, like a recreation ground type thing, and the running ground, and because you've got Crystal Palace Athletics just literally just down the road from there. When I say down the road, I'm talking a few hundred yards.
Crystal Palace, yeah, that's true. Yes, true.
The athletics stadium.
Yeah.
What's his
I'm
name?
always surprised they've never tried to merge that.
Yeah. It would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But then not a lot of teams like to play in a stadium with a track around it. It's never been a very popular thing for
that London stadium with West Ham. That's a bit weird because you have to be halfway up the stand before you're pitch level.
Yeah.
So when you're down the front half of the stands, it doesn't matter where, around the sides or behind the goals, you're actually looking up on the pitch.
Wow.
It's really weird because obviously they built the front half of the terracing, shall we say,
right,
literally on the old asphalt on the old running track.
True.
Okay, yeah. Bolton used to be like that. When you'd be like that, the pitch was above the level. And I remember we played there with Leicester one year, and all of a sudden the game is going on, and one of the coaches turns around and says, "We've only got 10 men. What's going on?" And the guy that was playing left back for us that day, Ken Sandercock, had got injured, and he'd rolled off the pitch, and the track was about a foot below the ground. The grass was a foot above the running track that was around it, and they couldn't see him lying on the ground on the other side.
One of our players is missing.
I tell you.
the body snatchers of Crystal Palace, was it?
Yeah. It was that was the weird things that happen in games,
Can you imagine? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you imagine that, and not seeing the player was frightening?
Yeah.
But Neves, of course, has gone to Saudi Arabia from Wolves. I think it'd be a big loss to Wolves.
He will.
A lot of movement of players to Saudi Arabia recently. And our own Robbie Keane, I don't know if you see it, lads, he's been appointed manager of Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Saw that.
And they finished third in their recent league, which is finished. They finished third. And they were founded in 1906, but I think they have a 30,000-seater stadium. They've been involved in European competitions anyway for a while, they've done pretty well. They've won their domestic league 23 times. I was just looking it up today. They won 2 Asian Club Championships. So they're well. There's one owner there. I forget his name, but I think it's a good move for Robbie Keane to find his feet in management. There's. I think he'll find out about himself. I think that's the word I'm trying to use. Managing a club, which is, they are fanatical soccer lovers, and Israel's soccer in Israel is on the up and up. Because we talked last week, Joe, because their under 20s reached the World Cup final and they beat Brazil on the way. That's the Israeli under 20 team. Now, obviously, they reached semi-final order, but they've done very well in underage competition, and they're doing well. They drew and won their last 2 matches in the European qualifiers as well. So, they're doing well. I saw Moldova beat Poland, lads, 3-2 in the qualifier during the week. I think that was a huge result for them as well. So there's funny things. But anyway, the soccer we're talking about, Robbie Keane and what's his name? Derwynne, we just need a word from you. Brendan Rodgers gone back to Celtic. Do you think that was a good move?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad move for him, is it?
Do you?
I mean, there's only only three teams up there, isn't there? Really?
Yeah.
Two,
Really,
obviously, the Rangers and Celtic. But I mean, is Aberdeen still the force they used to be?
I don't know, but what we were saying last week, myself and Joe, was that Brendan Rodgers, I mean, Celtic, well, one of the main shareholders was against his move, as you know, that's Dermot Desmond was against the move. But anyway, they appointed a manager, Brendan Rodgers. But surely, as we were saying, the next big injection of funds and players into Celtic, they must make an impression in Europe, because if Brendan Rodgers, if Celtic win the treble in Scotland, it'll be no achievement. And I don't mean to disparage that. I'm just saying many people have done that with Celtic. They've won their domestic competitions, the three of them. So I think the next step for them is either to join the Championship in Britain or the Premiership, but probably the Championship, if they want to progress in Europe, if they want to be a force.
I don't think they'll join the Premiership. They want to leave the Union, let alone join the Premiership.
As a soccer team.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right, but the problem is always going to be the competition.
I personally would love to see
on a weekly basis.
To see Celtic and Rangers playing. Yeah, I'd love to see United and Liverpool and Arsenal and Man City taking on Rangers and Celtic, because it would prove something, or it's showing that they are good enough, aren't they?
Yeah, it would be good. It would be.
Everybody. I'm English, so as soon as you say English, Scottish football to an Englishman, we kind of go, well, that's not really. There's only two teams, isn't there?
Yeah, well, true. That's the way it has turned out. That's where the investment is. That's where the money has gone.
Yeah.
That's where the players have gone.
But
you'd expect.
You just have to think, though.
In reality.
I mean,
you'd expect it though.
Yeah. Well, consider. I mean, if Rangers and Celtic were to go in the Premier League, with the injection of money that they would get from that, right, then anybody that you ever speak to about going to Parkhead, Celtic Park, is that the atmosphere there is absolutely unbelievable, right? So now all of a sudden, when you're playing 19 competitive home games like that, and you're making the money from that, on top of what you're getting from the Premier League for the away games and all that kind of stuff, and that's reinvested in the structure that they have there, then it might be a completely different ball game for them as clubs, because now all of a sudden they're part of a much bigger thing than they are in Scotland. They're part of a bigger TV rights, everything else. And I mean, I've watched Celtic up in Seattle. They've come over here. They've played United. They've played various teams up here. And I mean, it's a sea of green and white. I mean, they come from all over Canada. They come from all over the United States in their green and white hoops, and they sell the place out wherever they go. You know,
so they're two massive clubs.
Yeah.
Of course, we mustn't forget, Derwynne, they were the first British club to win the European Cup.
Yeah.
There you go.
They were,
and they were
Lions, weren't they?
And they were a homegrown team on that Celtic team in 1967. It was, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, weren't they all from about 5 mile radius around Glasgow?
Absolutely. Like, and as the man said, we stopped drinking 2 nights before the match at the time, we didn't go to the pub. Just saying, it was a different era. There's a different era at the time, Where's Declan Rice going to go, Derwynne, do you think?
I think he'll go Chelsea, won't he?
Do you think so?
He's not going to leave. He's not going to leave London, is he?
Chelsea or Arsenal?
He'll be Chelsea or Arsenal.
That's interesting, because Jack Grealish goes to Man City, right? And he's won 3 trophies last year alone, not to mention what he's won prior to that. Yeah. So I don't think that Declan Rice is going to limit himself to London. I really don't think so. I think that he's looking. He's just lifted a European trophy. I think he wants to do more of that. And if City make a serious bid for him, and remember, they've got Calvin Phillips that they can give away for him.
Yeah, and they're talking about that, aren't they? They're talking about X, and you can have him.
No,
that'd
United.
Be partnership. Yeah, that'd be a big partnership, wouldn't it?
I mean, because I'm reading the other day. Somebody tell me where the sense in this is, right? I'm reading about Declan Rice to wherever, or to Arsenal, and Arsenal's top bid up to now, I think, has been 90 million, and West Ham are looking for 100 million, right? And then in the next sentence, I'm reading that West Ham are ready to bid 90 million for the Fulham defensive midfield player. Somebody explain to me the logic in that. Who comes up with stories like that? That you're going to move Declan Rice on for a world record fee, and then you're going to pay 90 million for a guy that nobody has hardly spoken about until this moment in time. I mean, they don't gain anything from it, West Ham. They're probably losing from it.
No. They could buy Harry Maguire, West Ham, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand if United were offering McTominay and somebody else that David Moyes would be interested in as a forward player to get him to go to West Ham. Yeah. I can totally understand that. I can understand Calvin Phillips going the other way to West Ham would be a good fit for them with and West Ham would get money out of it to enable them to buy a couple more players. So
yeah, and Joe, that cost you. West Ham will be playing in Europe next year.
Yes, yeah,
well. They'll have European football with West Ham.
Yeah, and they're playing in the Europa League next year, right? Not the.
And is the Europa League final on in the Lansdowne Road next year?
Yeah, and the Champions League final is on in London, isn't it?
Yeah, in Wembley.
Is it?
Yeah,
yeah.
Derwynne, 3 tickets there.
Yes, in Wembley.
Yeah.
Not too high up now, a bit short.
No, Wembley's all right, mate. Huh? It's West Ham ground. You don't want to be down the front.
Joe, guess who? Right. Joe, guess whose house we'll be sitting outside of for the Champions
up against the wall.
Yeah.
We might let you two in.
SportsView is the program. Tell all your friends about it. Press the red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel, and thank you very much. We'll just briefly move on to golf, Joe, Derwynne. The women's PGA was on over the weekend, and it was won by the Chinese player Yin, Y-I-N, and she won it. She won it by a stroke, but she played well, and she got what did she get for her trouble? I think she got $1.5 million, $1.5 million, which was pretty good, Our own Leona Maguire had 3 very good rounds, but her final round was a 74, and she finished in the top 10 or 11, and she got 168,000. But Stephanie Meadow had a fantastic from Northern Ireland, a fantastic tournament as well, so she did well there as well. The Travellers, Derwynne, I have to pick your brain about the Travellers Championship. I don't know where to play now. Again, I haven't it written down here, but there's a par 70, 6,800 yards. My son plays a bit of golf with these buddies, They're not just they play 2 or 3 times a week. But people who are shooting, for instance, Shane Lowry shot 4 rounds of 64, 69, 69, and 64, and he finished 10 shots behind the winner, even though he finished at minus 14.
It's a resort course. It's a holiday course, and it's a par 72 in real life. But they played 2 par 5s as 2 par 4s, to try and toughen it up. But, you know, I watched a little bit on Saturday evening, and some of the guys were driving it in greenside bunkers on some of the par fours. And if you lay a golf course out like that for that caliber of player, they'll. I mean, Ricky Fowler had a putt for 59, didn't he?
He had, yeah. He just missed it.
And to be fair, he hit a really good putt and it didn't go in. But I mean, he had a putt for 59, but there was 61s. Like, I wouldn't say everybody was shooting 61. They weren't, but there was enough 61s for him to go. But it's two ways of looking at it, isn't it? You know, here we are, you know, talking about it, and we're talking about how many birdies they were making.
That's right.
You know, come the Open in 3 weeks' time, with the rough knee high round Hoylake, with the wind blowing and the rain coming down, everybody will be saying, "Oh, look, they're struggling to make pars."
Yeah.
So it's running a golf tournament is you know, what do you want? Do you want them making it look really like golf's amazing, or do you want them to look like they're struggling, like the weekend golfer type thing?
There was loads of rounds of 62 and 63. I should have counted them up totally.
I mean, honestly, in reality, that golf course is probably a par 65. In reality,
right. Yeah.
The way they set it up, because there was no rough, greens were holding, and you put all that combination together. I mean, I watched a bit on Saturday night, and I think I watched McIlroy knock it on. I think there was 3 par 4s that he knocked it off the tee into the greenside bunker, and it was like 390 yards. And much as we will go, well, that's amazing, but you know, some of those par 4s for these guys now are really long par 3s.
I wonder, would they allow us in next year?
Say that again.
Would they allow us in, one of us in next year to the travel? Because 3.6.
It's not easy.
Jesus, Derwynne, $3.6 million to the winner.
I know.
I mean, it's
astonishing.
astonishing.
I think the Travellers was one of the boosted events, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was one of the boosted events, the upped prize money ones.
It did, yeah.
That's why they were all playing. That's why McIlroy was there, and what his name, Scotty Scheffler was there, and it was a full turnout.
It was, and despite the fact that Ricky Fowler, despite the fact that Ricky Fowler shot a 60, he still didn't win it, you know, in that round. He still didn't win the tournament, you know. And I say, Patrick Harrington won the seniors Dick's Sporting Goods competition. He shot a 63 in the final round to come from 7 shots behind to win it, which is no mean feat. Like, he's 52 years of age now. He won $315,000 for his 3 rounds of work, which is astonishing when you see it. He could still
play the main tour, though. I mean, he's that good. He's fit.
He's fit. That's the secret, I think. Lowry is not fit enough. Yeah. Shane Lowry is not fit enough for 4 hard rounds of golf in testing conditions. That's my reading of it, anyway. You know, he has the shots. He's very good, but you know, the stats would.
Harrington's a good bet to win the Seniors Open this week.
Yeah, he's one of the favourites. Can this Charles Schwab Cup, don't they play for a huge pot of money at the end of the season? You know.
That's a huge amount of money. But that in the Schwab Cup, they don't actually get the money. That all goes into a pension fund.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't actually physically get money. That money gets put straight into a pension fund.
Oh, I see. Joe, we're in the wrong business. I
was just thinking of that, and I think Darren, I think you said this before a couple of weeks ago when you were on, that some of these guys now are spending more time in the gym than they are on the on the practice tee and what have you. So to build up their strength, because fitness is
they reckon Koepka, who is like probably he's one of the strongest guys out there on tour. But they reckon Koepka hits balls for about an hour a day, but 3 hours in the gym a day.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
I love watching him, not because of the liver. I love watching Brooks Koepka. I think he's a fearless golfer on the course. Okay, I think I don't know, it's a stupid thing to say now, Darwin. You might say it's stupid, and if you think it's stupid, you should say it. I think he goes for everything in every shot. You know?
You've got a certain amount of players out there who aren't playing for money anymore. They just want to win.
Yeah.
The money's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, Mickelson. You know, I've been with Mickelson where he's playing golf. You know, you two guys could phone up Mickelson and say, "I want to play golf with you, and I'll bet you $100,000 that we'll have a game." And he'll turn up and play with you. He'll take your money, but he'll turn up and play.
Yeah.
And Mickelson, that to him is just pocket money.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been in his company when he's played with 3 club golfers, very wealthy guys, and he's walked away with 300 grand at the end of the day. And if he's not going to lose, he's not going to lose.
No, not the club.
You know, if you've got some mugs who want to do that, and he's giving you a shot a hole, and he's going to beat you anyway. I mean, but you know, some of them, to me, Koepka, Dustin Johnson, I'd even say Patrick Reed in that sentence.
DeChambeau.
They're out there trying to just win golf tournaments because they just like being top of the pile.
No,
and don't forget, I mean, you know, Joe, you've played professional sport. You know, you don't go out there just to be second. And,
no, you don't.
You know, golf is a game that very much highlights the fact that, you know, most golf pros are selfish people. Not maybe selfish off the course, but
I know
on
what
a
you
golf
mean.
course, they're very selfish.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they're very competitive, and they're very. And I think all sportsmen, sportswomen that are playing professionally. I mean, you can say whatever you like. It's like in the Premier League, guys are making 150 grand a week. The minute the whistle goes, money is not even a consideration for those guys.
Yeah.
They're out there playing a game to win. And the same thing on the first tee of any golf course, at the starting line of a race or whatever it is, all the top people just want to win. They don't care about the money. They don't look, oh, I'm getting 3.5 million if I win at the end of this, or I'll take $1 million to finish second or third. No, they just want to win. They want to be at the top of it, and that's what makes them what they are. You know, that's what drives them on.
So I always say to people like young pros that I, you know, go and play with or I teach with or whatever, that, you know, if you won the Open or you won the Irish Open and somebody said to you, there's no check involved, you wouldn't really care. You've just won the Irish Open or you've won the Open.
Yeah.
You do it for nothing, really.
That's true.
The
That's
money
why
is when you're a young pro, the money's really important because that's what keeps you out playing. And pays your bills.
And
there's a point where there's a point where none of that matters. They are beyond wealthy.
Right.
Yeah. And just talking about your own Open, the Irish Open was in the doldrums for a while. It was resurrected, you know, with sponsors and all. Pádraig Harrington came every year because Pádraig wanted to win his own Open, and eventually he did win it in a dare manner when they hosted the Irish Open that time, you know. And I think that, as you said, Derwynne, the British Open is the next big one. You know, that's in Liverpool, Royal Liverpool, is it?
Yeah, Hoylake, yeah.
And what kind of a course would you describe that now for all people who will be listening after? Because don't ask me to describe courses.
So Hoylake's a beast. If the wind blows, it's a beast. I mean, it's right on the Mersey and the estuary and everything else. Like
All
one
right.
side's got the sea, which I think's the Irish Sea,
Yeah.
and then the other side of it, you've got the Mersey and the estuary of the Mersey. And if it blows round Hoylake, it's horrible. It's a beast. And that will be a test. I mean, you've got, Royal St George's down in Kent is the hardest venue for an Open.
Right.
Carnoustie's second. And then you'd probably throw in Hoylake as the third. But all three of those, you're splitting hairs on how hard they are.
And in your opinion, about 6 or 7 golfers now who would be able to handle that for the 4 days, would you have to have accuracy, but you have to have power as well, don't you? Because the rough is rough, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, you at the Open, you can hurt yourself getting the ball out of the rough because they that Hoylake hasn't cut that rough all year, and they would have been fertilising it and feeding it. There'll be somebody from the RNA every day at Hoylake for the last probably month who will basically be they call themselves agronomists, but that agronomist will be setting that golf course up with the local greenkeeper to basically make that as challenging and as hard as they can, to the point that if the prevailing wind, I don't know, down the second, for argument's sake, is left to right, they'll grow that rough and thicken that rough up down the right because that's where the ball has got every chance to run to.
Yeah. And who would you be looking out for as a good each way people who would be able to overcome those?
Somebody, to me, a person who kind of rings a bell to me is Rahm. Because Rahm's big, strong boy, hits it low, good driver.
Oh, yeah.
John Rahm.
Well, he'd be one of the favourites anyway to win it.
He'd be up there in the top 10 players that you'd expect. If you name 10 players, Rahm would be inside that. Obviously, they'll put McIlroy into it because it's McIlroy. Koepka will be sat in there. I watched Scotty Scheffler last year at St Andrews, and he didn't look that good round that style linksy course. He didn't look. He didn't. I mean, he's a good player, but he hits the ball unbelievably high, and that in America is what you need to do. Over here, you need to hit it along the floor. If you said to me, who's a player to watch out for as a complete outsider, one that you're not going to see on your radar at all, is Hovland.
So you would say that Victor Hovland has the game for it?
Definitely. Hits it low with a draw shape to it. So I mean, he's one that I would have an each way bet on. And if some of the betting channels, you'll get who'll finish top 10 each way and different things. I'd have Hovland as one of my choices.
Hovland and Rahm, Joe.
Yeah.
Go
I find it interesting there with what you're talking about, because I mean, when you play most courses over in America, over here, they're like manicured. They are nothing like any course that you see in Ireland or England that I've been on. There's the rough is minimal at best, and you're talking there about what they're doing at Hoyk for the Open. When the U.S. Open was held in University Place here in Tacoma at Chambers Bay, the biggest complaint was the grass on the greens. They used a completely different grass on the green than they use at other courses.
All right.
And all the pros complained about it, and they had to dig it up for them to stay on the rotation. And yet here we are in Britain, and we're talking about growing rough and fertilizing it.
Yeah.
So it's there, and they don't have a leg to stand on for it. I mean, a golf course is a golf course, the same as anything else, right? And you have to play the course, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
You have to play the conditions. You have to do all of those things, and it's up to you. If the greens are different, then you have to figure it out.
You have to adapt.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that's what I found strange about this. I've never ever heard of anybody complain about the British Open. You know, when it's in the middle of summer and the fairways are rock hard and the ball is bouncing and it's running and it's doing all that, and nobody cares about it. They just get out and they play. You know.
You know, when I always say to people that for, you know, they say about Americans coming over and dominating and different things like that. You know, I don't think they do as much now as you know, in the last 20 years, as much as they did in the 60s, 70s and 80s, even really, maybe even the 90s. But, you know, when for 1 week, Nicholas and Palmer and Trevino, Crenshaw's, your Ray Floyds, all these guys, for 1 week, adapt, and they can kind of go with it.
Yeah.
You know, if they had to play it week in, week out, they'd have to change their game, how they swing the club, because you know the reverse. When I was playing full time and I'd go and play mini tours in America, I could never really hit the ball high enough to make it work for me around those kind of golf courses.
Oh, I have you.
Because as a kid, you grow up having to hit it, drive it forwards rather than upwards.
Yes.
So you know, I go and play a lot in Florida. You know, in my winters out in Florida, you've seen me, you know, with palm trees behind me head and everything else.
Yeah.
But when I go out to play, it's like a real struggle. Now, when it blows in Miami and I go out and play with the other pros in Miami, it's like fantastic, because they don't know how to get the ball down, because all they've ever learned is to hit it sky high.
Yes. Yeah.
So when it blows, they don't quite know how to do it. Now, the big difference is that when you're hitting a ball off a links turf, you may as well be hitting it off like paving stones, because you really don't take a divot. You get what we call an explosion. So it's just dust and sand coming up, because the roots never go that deep on a fairway, because they're not meant to. Whereas in Florida, you watch a tournament in America, they take doormats when they take divots.
Yeah, they do.
And they are doormats. I mean, you watch a tournament you watch the Open, sometimes you can't put a divot back because there is no divot. You've just taken up dust.
That's right. And
you need to hit down on the ball in Britain. In America, you need to hit up on the ball. And they for 1 week, the best players in the world from America can adapt for 1 week. But if you said to them, stay here for 6 months, they'd have to learn how to hit the ball in a different shape.
Yeah.
And you know, people talk about technology now with launch angles and all this other stuff. But, you know, as a kid, Joe, you know, if you played golf when you were a kid on the local course in Ireland, Pat, you the same. You barely ever played when it wasn't blowing. I wouldn't say blowing a gale, but it wasn't. There was no calm day, was there?
No.
If there was, it's rare, isn't it?
There was never a calm, there was never really a calm day. You know, there was always a blow.
So as a kid, learning your golf, you learned how to make the ball go through the wind. And in America, they don't have a links golf course. That doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
Even the ones they like to call linksy, they're not linksy really, because they never let the fairways dry out.
And so Royal Liverpool could suit someone like Lowry as well.
Lowry should be right at home. And, you know, he grew his golf, played all his golf at Portrush and everything else. And
yeah.
if he can't win the Open again, then Lowry's not trying, because he's perfect for it.
Yeah, I think he's game. So I probably put in Lowry, Hovland, as you said, and Ram, good each way, just each way bets, because you get 8 to 10 places.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hovland is Hovland's knocking on the door of winning a major. He's been in the top 10 the last few years now, and he knows. He had a chance at St Andrews, but Cam Smith took him out third day, I think.
Yeah.
He had a chance recently at the US.
But wouldn't Smith be used to inclement weather, being from Australia?
A little bit, but he's gone through the college system. So again, he's the only difference with Rahm's physical golf swing does not want to hit the ball sky high. He's long, but if you look at the way McIlroy now hits it, McIlroy has learnt to play in America now, and he knows how to carry the ball up in the air.
Yeah.
You've only got to watch the shot tracers. Some of these guys shot tracing with drivers are peaking at like 90, 100, 120 feet in the air.
They are way up, very high. They're very high.
That's massive. Now you can't do that into a 40, 50 mile an hour wind around Oil Lake, because the ball won't go.
Well, if you do, you'll be going home early, And
you'll be coming back towards you at some stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we finish up, lads, the FIFA Ladies World Cup is starting on the 20th of July, and there's 32 teams, and for people who like that. And because I mentioned it, because Ireland qualified for the first time ever for the Ladies World Cup, and they have a good team. They have a very good team. They're playing in a we were trying to make out the times. The kickoffs for the Irish, the 3 Irish matches are 2000 hours local time in Australia. So that'll be 8 o'clock at night. Wouldn't that be 8 o'clock in the morning?
Is that 8 o'clock at night in Ireland?
Their time.
I don't know. I don't know that I've never looked at.
No, that's like four. That's about 4 in the morning, isn't it? Because they're ahead of us, aren't they?
They're 12 hours there.
Be the other way around, won't it? That'll be like early morning for us.
Yeah.
No, because anyway,
not so much for you, Joe, but it'd be really
right.
For you.
So when you say early morning, what time would it be in Ireland? In England?
8 o'clock in the morning.
8 o'clock. So it'd be about 4 o'clock in the afternoon for us.
Yeah, we'll have the times. We'll have the times sorted next weekend, next Monday, for people who are interested in that kind of thing. But look forward to something to look forward to.
I've got one question to ask, boys. Anybody watch that first Ashes test?
Oh, I didn't actually watch it, but I followed it on the kind of play-by-play as it was going, and it was absolutely amazing.
I watched the highlights.
Stokes dropped a massive clanger when they needed 60 or something.
Yeah.
And he had a chance of taking a new ball out, and he stayed with the old ball. And for something like 4 overs, they just batted it. It was amazing. And it was all to do with the ball.
Yeah.
And instead of taking the new ball when they needed 60 and putting Broad and Anderson and mainline attackers, I think England lost that match rather than Australia won it.
And
if that makes any sense.
Have they any chance of winning the Ashes?
I think they'll win this next one. I think it'll be 1-1. I think it'll be quite an interesting series. But Stokes, to me, dropped a massive clanger with not taking that new ball.
Did he declare too early?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
well, Derwynne, as you talk about cricket, the very first home match of the newly formed Clare Cricket Club was held in Shannon last weekend. And
wow.
we have a cricket club there for a while, but they've acquired their own ground now. And it's not far away from where I live, just down the back a bit. So it's nice to see, and it's a very mixed group of people. Obviously, there's locals and all of that, but I think it's nice to see another sport, another choice for kids, you know. And it's I like it myself, you know. I think it's good, you know. I like watch it. Since the time I worked in London, I like cricket. I like the 1 days. That's my favorite. The 40 overs, is it? 40 over cricket, 1 day.
2020 is massive.
2020.
2020 is massive.
Oh, it's just and exciting. But your tip is for England to win the Ashes. Well, I think we better agree with you, Wednesday.
No, I think they've got a chance of winning the Ashes, but Stokes, Joe, you're right. He declared way too early. I mean,
I thought that he should have put a few more runs up before they did that. I think even the players were surprised when he declared so early. And I think that the mindset was still to be putting runs on the board, and they weren't ready to get in the field with that mentality. But it certainly was an exciting game, though. Yeah, I read a good article what Joe Brawley was talking about when he went to his first Test match, and you know, people go there a couple of hours early and they're drinking beforehand, and he says, by the time the cricket came on, he said, I have no clue what was going on. He says, but I was just cheering when everybody else cheered. And in the finish, I just had a good day out. It was great.
That's good.
I was half in the bag by the time the game started, and then it was like, yeah.
He's very good, right? Of course, he won an All-Ireland with Derry.
Yeah.
In 1993, and they've been drawn against Cork in the last 8 in the quarterfinals of the football. Cork had a great win over the weekend. But anyway, lads, it's been a blast again. So from Derwynne Honan, from Joe Waters and myself, till we meet again next Monday, Lacoon of Day. Take it easy, good sport, and good evening, lads, and God bless.
Take care, lads.
See you good, guys. See you, be good.